Bill Maher is here. He is the host of Real Time with Bill Maher. It is on HBO. The Washington Post called it topical TV as competitive sport. Here is a look.
Thank you. I know why you're happy. Afghanistan reported a record opium crop. I think that explains why Dick Cheney came back from his trip saying, hey, they greeted us with flowers. And they blew my mind. Now, you heard about this week? The Taliban tried to blow up Dick Cheney. Don't worry, he's okay. No, he was never in danger. At the time of the attack, he was safely asleep in his coffin. So, these families that you talk about, and I agree, it's horrible for them to have to face this idea that their kid died in vain. But what they have to tell themselves are lies. We're fighting for... He died for freedom. He died fighting for our freedom. This is not World War II, where they died to prevent Tojo and Hitler coming to our shores. New rule, if he wants my vote, Barack Obama has to stop smiling so much and show me his war face. I can't tell if you're selling me your candidacy or Crest white strips. I'm just looking out for you, Barack, because it's not just an old wives' tale. If you fake too many smiles, your face can get stuck.
Real Time on HBO is in its 5th season. I am pleased to have Bill Maher back at this table. Welcome back. When is this program on, Real Time with...
It's live Friday nights. We tape it in California.
And then with cable the way it is, it's on 15 times between.
Right, HBO repeats it on the main channel on Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but it's on HBO 2, 3, and 4. It's on demand. You know, we are obviously moving into a situation now in broadcasting where I think in a few years there will be no time designations at all. People will make a product, and other people will buy it and play it when they want to, which is what most of them do, well, a lot of them do now with TiVo and so forth.
It's the best thing we have, TiVo, because we're on late at night. Either TiVo or Google Video or CharlieRose.com. You can stream it.
Yeah, you're on my TiVo, and TiVo allows me to see what I want to see.
When do
I'm
you
doing
watch
a commercial for it.
When do you watch television?
Late at night. When I,
like 2 a.m.?
Or later. I live very late hours. Yeah. It's not good to. I don't wish I did, but I do. So I usually finish work at my desk at 2, 3 in the morning, and that's when I, start watching TV.
I don't know whether you asked this of Keith Olbermann or he asked it of you. You can't imagine what's coming.
Yeah.
What question would you like to ask George Bush and Dick Cheney most if you had them here at this table?
How much did you learn about Iraq before you invaded it? Because I think he prayed a lot about it, and I think he thinks that's a substitution for learning. But we all read in, I think it was either the Woodward book, one of the books about the administration said that, I think it was Prince Bandar perhaps, or somebody, no, it wasn't Bandar. He taught him about North Korea, oddly enough. But somebody had to teach President Bush after we were invading Iraq that this was a country divided between Sunnis and Shiites. And, of all the crimes he has committed in this office, to me that is almost the most unforgivable. To invade a country and know so little about it. This surge that we're doing now, even if it works, and of course it doesn't work, it was on the front page of the New York Times, exactly what John McCain said, whack-a-mole.
Yeah. Well, John McCain also said there's no plan B. If this doesn't work, there's nowhere to go.
Right, but he said he used the phrase whack-a-mole, meaning if you put a large force somewhere, the insurgency pops up, and it was the front page. It's in Bakuba or some other city where they've gone, and that's just going to happen. But even if it did work, what is the price? And the price, I think, of course, is that we have to go house to house, rouse these people, get on your knees. You see pictures in Time magazine of them drawing on them, the people with a magic marker, GIs drawing on, things that are very, very disturbing to the Arab people. When we captured Saddam Hussein, remember, they were poking around. They just are ignorant of who these people are and who we're dealing with and how offensive stuff like that is. And ignorance of that level is so arrogant.
In fact, you know, one of the things that's in the same ballpark as those comments is that Kanan Makia, very wise man, but who had made serious mistakes about the war, had been a long time in opposition to Saddam, said the worst day of his life was when they executed Saddam because of the way it was done. Yeah. And it just made Saddam into a kind of hero in a moment that he should have been viewed for what he was.
Right. Even the Shiites, who, of course, had reason to hate him, yes, didn't appreciate that. Yeah, George Bush is a uniter, not a divider. He's the guy who can actually unite the Sunni and the Shia into hating America worse than they hate each other.
When do you think it will end?
When we have a new administration.
Not until.
No, I don't. I mean, if he is this stubborn, and at this point, if you do not understand that 3 words, too far gone, this thing is too far gone to put back together, then you never will. If they have hope for it now, and they obviously do, and they have people around the country like John McCain who do their talking for them also and back it up and give it credibility, which it doesn't deserve, then I guess we're just going to have to wait it out. But Iraq is going to be 3 countries at some point, like it was before 1932, before they drew an artificial line on the map. The only way these people are ever going to feel safe is to get behind the walls with their own tribe somewhere. And what I find so disturbing is that the people who got every prediction wrong before the war, that there would be weapons of mass destruction, that the oil would pay for the war, that we would be greeted as liberators, that the insurgency was in its last throes, that disbanding the army wasn't a problem, that it would get better when we caught Saddam, when we caught his sons, when we had elections, when they had a parliament. Every prediction.
Oil revenue would pay for all the expenses.
All of them. Absolutely wrong. These are the same people who now predict what will happen if we pull out. Well, then Iran will come in, and Turkey will come in, and Syria. They have lost their right to predict. We don't know what will happen. A bloodbath? It's a bloodbath already. So I think what they don't understand is that we are the problem until we leave.
The occupation is the problem.
Yeah.
Well, John Abizaid frequently said the reason they didn't have a surge was that they believed that the occupation and adding more people would be more counterproductive than it would be helpful because of the animosity to seeing more American troops. It would just drive home the anger about the occupation. Now, there are a lot of people there saying with Petraeus there, at long last we have a strategy that if we'd used it 2 or 3 years ago, then we'd be better off.
Well, you know, too far gone. I mean, yes, maybe. That's the $64,000 question, is if we had done everything right from the beginning, could this have worked? I think it perhaps could have.
And I've asked that question all the time.
Right.
Could this have worked? A whole range of people have sat where you are. If it could have worked, would you have been in favor of it?
Well, we're all in favor of success.
Right.
And success has 1,000 fathers.
Right.
I said
and failure as an orphan.
As an orphan. I said at the time that we went in, I was against going in, absolutely. But I said after we had done it, it was a fait accompli. Let's see what, let's see what's going to happen now. Let's not just, piss on it because it's George Bush's idea. You have to love your country more than you dislike the president. Maybe it'll go somewhere. But, of course, it never did have any chance because we never had anyone over there who understood the people who we were invading.
And the people that did were not listened to.
Right, but if you look at they were not listened to, right, there were people in the State Department and experts who understood, but they were not listened to. And also, what is important to the Bush administration, as far as the people they hire, is never expertise. We're learning this now with the U.S. Attorney's scandal. This Monica Goodling is where she is, high up in the Justice Department, because she went to Messiah College and Pat Robertson Law School. And it's the same thing with who they sent to Iraq. Most of the people they sent to Iraq had to apply for a passport. They had never been overseas. They knew nothing about where they were going or what they were supposed to do. In George Bush's mind, inside of every Iraqi, there's an American dying to get out. That's what they thought in Vietnam, too.
Well, I mean, there is some reason to
Not
believe...
an Iraqi in Vietnam.
I know what you mean. But I mean, they're in long lines to get American visas. I mean, they have been for a long time.
Now they are, sure.
Well, no, I don't mean in Iraq, but I mean around the world. I mean,
Yeah.
for all the problems with America,
yeah.
there's a kind of admiration there. Now, we are at a low ebb in terms of our respect around the world. In your judgment, and people you talk to, Madeleine Albright and the whole range of people, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who come there, how long does it take, if there's a change in administration, which there clearly will be, and if it's somebody that has the same beliefs that you do, will it take to get America
Quickly.
sort of back? That's what I think.
I think quickly, because people want to like America.
Right.
I just spent quite a bit of time overseas on my last break in December and January, and I was actually surprised to find very little animosity toward the American people. Yeah. They all don't like Bush, but you know, I talked to a lot of people in London. I mean, I was doing something where I was literally standing on the street with a microphone talking to passersby. Right. So I did talk to a lot of people in a lot of different places. And, you know, in places like Europe that have been around a long time, their attitude was sort of, you know, we're England. We've seen a lot of bad rulers come and go. We lived through the Sheriff of Nottingham. Okay.
Yes.
You know, George Bush's.
Right. We had Robin Hood.
Yeah, they'll come, they'll go.
But the people that you have had on the program, I mentioned two of them. Who's made the most sense for you? Who does some come and sit at your table who you say, or sit on your remote from you as you do the show from L.A., who just is so penetrating and so smart and so wise, you say, if only.
I'm lucky. I have a lot of people who
on that
do
list.
that. Yeah. Seymour Hersh is one who I can think we had recently.
Writer for the New Yorker magazine.
Yes, and really out ahead on a lot of these.
And a lot of sources at the Pentagon.
Yeah, and overseas, apparently, because he really is thinking 2-3 chess moves ahead. I mean, he's thinking about what's going to happen in Iran. Yeah. He's thinking about, is this going to turn into a proxy war? And I think what we talked about the night he was on was the fact that it already is somewhat of a proxy war. I mean, Bush is all up in arms about the fact that they are finding Iranian weapons in Iraq. Well, of course they are. It's a war. Yeah. If they were having a festival there, we would find Iranian cotton candy machines in Iraq. But we also have Saudi Arabian arms and money going in to Iraq because they're, of course, backing the Sunnis. What's ironic is that, you know, we originally were going to go after al-Qaeda. They are the people who did attack us. They're Sunni. Now we're so worried about Iran, which is Shiite, that we're probably going to wind up backing the people who are allied with al-Qaeda, the Sunnis, to restore balance. Because in the Middle East, what upsets them so much, I think, is that the Shiites are this minority who, in the eyes of the Sunnis, just cannot take over. This is very disturbing to them. What George Bush saw in Iraq was freedom in, Saddam out. What they saw was Sunnis out, Shiites in.
Exactly right.
And that's what is meaningful to them.
And the Shiites had no love for the United States, even though they wanted us to topple Saddam, because George Bush, 41, let them rise up, and they were slaughtered because we did not come to help them, and they never forgot that.
It was his Bay of Pigs.
It was indeed his Bay of Pigs. Why is it that has it always been true, that something like the war is the fodder for stand-up comedians? It is the thing that you talk about.
Because it's the biggest issue of the day.
It's what people, so that's it. Comedy deals with whatever the biggest issue of the day is.
It's actually a hard issue to make funny, because it's just so sad and tragic. Not that war is ever funny.
But if you got ineptitude.
But ineptitude, yes. When you add that upon it, I mean, I'm always amazed at how many times I could go to the well of George Bush is a dumb screw-up with not just my audience, but pretty much any audience these days, and they just eat it up. There is such an antipathy toward this man.
Yeah, but is it because people who believe as you do come to hear you and see you?
But those are most of the people in America now. I mean,
Yes,
3-4 years ago, I was a minority,
Yeah.
you know, and back in 1999, look, I'm not the best judge of character always. I don't get every prediction right, but boy, I had George Bush pegged. I
had him pegged when?
From the very beginning, I said, this is a disaster that walks like a man.
You mean when he was running?
Absolutely. From the very beginning. I could just see it. you could just see.
But he was saying all these interesting things when he was running. He was saying things like, we need to be more humble in our foreign policy. He was saying things like, I don't want us to get involved in nation building, a lot of other things.
He was reading.
And he believed in the United Nations and internationalism and all that.
Well, he was reading a script, I guess, they gave to him. He said he was a compassionate conservative. He said he was a reformer with results.
Well, but I think we're a dumb country.
Basically, I think we're 300.
We're dumber than, say, Great Britain?
Well, they did a...
We're dumber than, say, Cambodia? We're dumber than, say...
I don't know enough about it.
Venezuela?
Well, we're a big country, so there's a lot of smart people in this country.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look at what we've done here in this country.
What have we done lately?
Well, what's lately? I mean, what's
I asked
lately?
I asked Bill Bradley on my show. I said, I love this country. I want to see it do well, but I don't think we have the chops anymore to do anything great.
Can I tell you how wrong that is?
And he said, look at the great things we've done. We put a man on the moon. I said, Bill.
It was not yesterday.
That was 37 years ago.
Okay, I'll tell you. There's more progress being made in science and technology and medicine.
Really?
Yes.
Science and technology we should be doing is not the kind that we're doing. We're making a CD player for the car work better.
Technology is not just about the CD player. Technology has to do with all kinds of resonance machines, all kinds of things. Go to any hospital, and the capacity to diagnose early cancer is significantly is significantly better, and those things have come on stream in the last 10 years. It had nothing to do with politics at all. It had to do with that there are people at work in this country who are doing extraordinary things.
There are.
And they're not dumb.
Of course they're not. I just said we have millions of smart people.
Name me one thing we've done.
Well, lately, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about a big national project that we all pitch in and get behind. But yes, we also lead the world. We just kill in computers. Right. Nobody else can touch us in computers.
Right.
We're great at making money. Greed always wins, but in the end, we always lose because of it. And by the way, we wouldn't need all that equipment in hospitals if there was any sort of idea of how to treat your body in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, healthcare, they can spend all the money in the world and insure everybody. It doesn't matter because the way people eat and the way they take care of their bodies, they're just going to get sicker and sicker and sicker. And they have not made much progress with cancer. They keep sick people alive.
No.
They keep sick people alive a little longer, but they certainly haven't come close to a cure.
They have not gone as far as they should, but I promise you, believe me,
yeah, they've made
a lot of progress. No, they have. I mean, there's a long way to go, but they've made progress in that. They've made a lot of progress in a whole range of other things. I mean, we make dumb political decisions about health care. And your point that I read in
stem cell.
Clearly stem cell. But I mean, there's also, you made an interesting point about health care, which one may be the one you just made in this interview that's now on the newsstands in Playboy about health care. Forgotten what it was, but.
Well, I happen to not believe in Western medicine. Western medicine is like Iraq. It's all about invading. It's all about drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, and we won't even get into that because you know how corrupt that is. Give people pills and cut surgery.
Well, all pills are not bad.
Not all pills.
All pills are not bad. No, there are a lot of people here are alive today because they lowered their cholesterol level in part with pills and in part with diet.
I would say 90% of it is unnecessary if you would treat your body right. Aspirin, as my holistic doctor would tell you, no one ever had aspirin deficiency. The cause of a headache is not aspirin deficiency.
All right, I won't argue that. I mean, I'm out of my league now in terms of what causes a headache.
But it's not aspirin deficiency.
Yeah, I know exactly. But in fact, an asprin a day is very good for.
No, it's not. An aspirin is horrible for you.
In every way.
Well, I mean, does it thin the blood? Yes, but why should you? But see, once again, the root cause of your blood being too thick, it's not.
Do you take care of yourself?
I do, but I do some bad things.
Like what?
Well, I have the occasional jazz cigarette, Charlie. And I used to drink a lot more.
Did you really?
I
Why
drink
did you
very
stop?
moderate. Look, I'm 51 years old. You just can't drink like you used to. It makes you sick.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You couldn't handle it as much as you used to, and so you stopped.
I could, but I would be really pushing it. Why make yourself feel that way? And you'd look bad. You'd have a nose like Ted Kennedy. So I drink very moderately.
There you go, maligning somebody.
I love Ted Kennedy, but I think I eat very well. That's my secret to health. And most people, I think, don't understand that very basic idea that the number one thing you do that affects your health, unless you're a drug addict or a drunk, is eating. Eating is what we do 3 times a day. It's either poison or medicine.
Right. You said a very interesting thing in this other article, too, is that you like adults on your show. And you like mature people. Yes. We just saw this guy, and he said he's the youngest person who's been on my show in a while, and he's 25. John Legend.
27,
27.
That's to be able to keep up on our show, and this is not knocking people in their 20s. You just haven't lived long enough to know enough to really sit at the table with Madeleine Albright.
Yes, somebody once said, why do they teach Tolstoy to 18-year-olds? They don't have any life experience that they can get it.
That's a good point, because I surely didn't get it when I read it in college.
What brings you the most satisfaction? This show, stand-up?
That's a hard one. That's a Sophie's choice for me. If you said this,
really.
Stand up, I just love it so much now. Perhaps because so many years when you do it, it's painful. It's difficult. You're young. You stink. The audiences aren't there really to see you. They're at the Comedy Barrel on Friday night. You're the generic comic. They're drunk. They're heckly. There's a lot of years where it's bad. Yeah. And then finally, if you still do it at my age, you've been doing it, you have an audience that comes to see you in a nice theater. There's not drinks and waitresses. You're good at what you do. They want to see me.
But that's it in the end, isn't it? When you get to a sense that you really know you're good.
That's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing some gigs at the Hard Rock in Vegas coming up, and I can't wait to get there. I'm busting my butt to get out there on a Friday night after we tape our show. Because I love it so much. Exactly. Because to be in front of that audience and get that immediate feedback, and also it's a great clarifier. I mean, there's no BS with the stand-up thing, because you have to get a laugh every 15 or 20 seconds, and that audience will tell you what is really funny, what is really pointed to them. It focuses me.
Before we go, the Imus story has been on the front pages of
really?
Both news magazines.
I didn't notice that.
Where have you been? Well, you called in, I'm told, and just to say...
Well, no, I actually was booked on that show, on Imus's show, just by coincidence, to plug those Vegas dates, I think. And it just happened to be I think it was his second to last day. And as vile as the thing he said... I'm in the camp that free speech is even more important. I certainly understand the feelings of a lot of African Americans who say, after all the crap we put up in this country, I don't care what it is. A black friend of mine said, everyone's talking about politically incorrect, whether it was politically incorrect. He said, I'm just glad this kind of talk is incorrect now. And I totally understand that.
Do too.
But, as someone who they once tried to make go away for something I said.
This is about the coward business.
Yeah. I mean, I would never say anything racist. It's just not who I am. No. But, we're all in this situation now where you just say a wrong word and the ejector seat goes off, And, Joe Biden said the word clean out. McCain used the word wasted lives in Iraq. That was a controversy. There are just so many people who are watching TV 24/7 just to find that one thing that somebody says.
And we live in a new world with bloggers.
Gotcha, right. It's such a gotcha.
Blogger sees it's on YouTube the next hour.
And we're not having a real discussion because we're looking to hit the ejector seat, and that's wrong.
Great to have you here.
Great to be here. It always goes fast.
Bill Maher.